Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Caithness Amateur Dram Antic Society tasting. Tonight I'm going to do a tasting of four whiskies from Brackla, or to give it its fancy title, Royal Brackla. And we'll also have a little look at how finishing might affect whiskey, because we've got three different kinds of finish here. First whiskey we'll taste. I've got three samples and a little miniature here. I've got a Whiskey Galore 7-year-old. That's a Duncan Taylor bottling. 2011 Brackla at 46%. Then we have the official bottling Royal Brackla 12-year-old sherry cask finish. Then we have a Cadenhead Royal Brackla 14-year-old, bottled it at 52.3%. Pinot Noir finish, Pinot Noir hogshead since August 2019, so I think that would be for 4 years. And then Cadenhead Royal Brackla 2008, 16-year-old at 53.7%, and it was in a Palo Cortado hogshead since 2020, so 4-year finish in Palo Cortado. So Royal Brackla Distillery, and it's called Royal Brackla for a reason. Captain William Fraser of Brackla House on the estate of Codder Castle originally founded the distillery in 1812, and it started distilling that same year, and it was the first distillery to be granted a royal warrant by King William IV in 1835, and only a few other distilleries have ever been given a royal warrant. This distinction gave the distillery leverage over the rest of the market, and from this point on the distillery was allowed to use the addition Royal in its name, and was also known as the King's Own Whisky. In 1852 the distillery was taken over by Robert Fraser and Company, and they operated the distillery until 1898, at which point the original buildings were demolished and the entire site rebuilt, and the Royal Brackla Distillery Company was founded. In 1919 the distillery changed hands again when John Mitchell and James Leake from Aberdeen acquired the site. In 1926 John Bissett and company took over the entire distillery, and then in 1943 SMD took over the distillery when they acquired John Bissett and Company. In 1970 the number of stills was increased from 2 to 4. The site was mothballed in 1985, and then production resumed 6 years later in 1991. It underwent a massive renovation in 1997, with more than £2 million being spent. 1 year later, the brandeurs as well as the distillery had to be sold due to an obligation of the European watchdog, and Bacardi bought the distillery and the Dewar's brand from Diageo. The distillery has a production capacity of 4 million litres, most of which goes into the blending industry. It uses spring water from the Cursac Springs for production. It also has another spring, the Airfield Springs. In the past, water from the Codder Burn was used, but this is now only used as processed water. It operates with four pot stills. The 2 watch stills each have a capacity of 22,000 litres, while the spirit stills have a capacity of 21,000 litres. They have a unique shape, being somewhere between a tall still and a Speyside still, with spherical lids that are less rounded than usual. but with long, fat, long, tall necks. The tall shape of the still's necks allows for an especially high level of reflux in the stills and maximum copper exposure. The distillery character that Royal Brackla aims to achieve is therefore fruity, light, and pleasant with little grassiness. The malt used in production is not peated. It had its own malting plant until 1966. They now source their malt from industrial malting plant in Speyside. It grinds 13 tons of malt, which then goes on to be mashed. That crushed malt is mixed with the fresh spring water from Cursac Springs in the modern stainless steel Lauter tun. The first mash is carried out at 64.5 degrees. It does not have a traditional second and third water. Instead, after the first water, there is a continuous water that starts at a temperature of 75 degrees and is raised ever so slightly as the mash is sprinkled with water and all the sugar is dissolved. Has a total of 8 washbacks, 6 wooden ones made of Siberian larch, which is also native to Scotland, and 2 made of stainless steel, which are located outside. The mash tun fits exactly 1 washback with 59,000 litres. The fermentation time is a relatively long 70 hours, and in this the flavours change from earthy, grassy, malty to fruity, which defines the distillery character of Royal Brackla. Although there are a couple of warehouses on site, not a single drop of Royal Brackla matures on the distillery site. All the maturing single malt is transported to a site owned by Dewars in South Lanarkshire that has 18 newly built warehouses, which are a combination of dunnage and rat. So Royal Brackla whisky, it sits at the bottom of the Northern Highlands, and there's a debate whether it's a Speyside or a Highland malt. It's close to Loch Ness, and it's released a very slim number of official bottlings, including a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 16-year-old and 20-year-old. It's sort of a sporadic thing and gets changed about regularly. The most consistent used to be the 10-year-old, which featured in the Flora and Fauna range, but it was discontinued some years ago. They did relaunch their core range in 2022 with malt master Stephanie McLeod. As part of this, the alcohol content was increased to 46%, and the bottlings are non-chill filtered and non-coloured. The core range includes the 12-year-old, the 18-year-old and the 21-year-old. However, as we're going to see tonight, there's an extensive range of independent bottlings of Royal Brackla, most by Cadenheads, although Douglas Lang and Gordon MacPhail's Connoisseur's Choice have also released bottlings. And they vary in age from a 6-year-old to a 40-year-old, and nearly all of the ages in between. It's a key component in Dewars blends. In fact, Royal Brackla was at the pioneering end of blended whisky. Andrew Usher, who effectively invented blending, performed his first blending experiments at Royal Brackla. In addition to Dewars, Royal Brackla is also used in Johnnie Walker's Gold and Bissett blends. So we're starting off tonight with a Whisky Galore 7-year-old Brackla. It's bottled from the Whisky Galore range, which was inspired by the legendary tale of the SS politician. You know, the one in 1941, a group of Highlanders raided a shipwreck for 24,000 cases of whisky. This whisky, spent its days in oak cask. I suspect it's bourbon after it was distilled in 2011 and bottled at 46% ABV in 2018. So let's see what we have here. It's an uncoloured, unchill filtered, and you can see it's quite a pale straw colour. And it has nice tears, so mouthfeel should be okay, I think. And it's like nugget on the nose. And it's a little spicy. Stewed apple with almond croissants, and there's a good helping of honey. Orchard fruits. There is some maltiness, woodiness. It's very nice, extremely inviting note. Soft florals. Citrus. And there's lots of honey in here. Bitter oranges, a faint licorice, and musty wood. It's not loud, it's not in your face. It arrives quite nicely and slowly. We'll try them out. And it's like a spiced milk chocolate with candied citrus, vanilla custard, and lots of ripe orchard fruit. It's got a strong sweetness with garden fruits and a slight pepper or chilli catching in the back there. Some tannins. And then you get the honey sweetness and heather with some floral notes in the back. It's quite intensely sweet initially. And then you get the orchard fruit juiciness, pears, apples, peaches. You get dry tannins, spiciness kicks in, and there's some sour notes at the end. It's well balanced, and for 7 years of age, it's quite rounded and quite pleasant. On the finish, you get some grassy oak and a drizzle of caramel. It's the weakest part of this dram. It's quite short, a little bitter with some spicy notes and some sweetness as well. Slightly gingery and peppery. It's better than it sounds. It's a nice type of peppery finish. I'm going to add 5 drops of water to this. I've got my lark fire out for this. And now I get porridge. A touch of barnyard and wet wool. It's very young. It's very raw, very orchard. Porridge, muesli, and a sort of baker's yeast. Sweet barley on the mouth. and wine gums. Very young, this whisky. And funnily enough, with water, the finish is a little longer. It's very sweet, almost sugary, with a little chlorophyll in the aftertaste. I'm very happy with this independent bottling of Royal Brackla. For its 7 years of age, shows a very nice matured nose and palate, a nice complexity. It's nicely rounded and it's quite full single malt. If you could find this, which I doubt nowadays, I'd recommend you to try it. If you can find it at a reasonable price. So I'm going to cleanse my palate tonight with the Borders Biscuit Viennese Whirl. Got something sweet to go with Royal Brackla. So we're going to move on now. Next up we have the Royal Brackla 12-year-old, and so this is really one of Dewar Bacardi's under the radar distilleries. This one's been finished in Oloroso sherry casks, bottled at 46 ABV, natural colour and unchill filtered. And unless I'm very much mistaken, this is the new label, which is even more retro than before. So this was finished in Oloroso wood. So it should display spiced cherries and demerara. I believe the mistakes they made in the past, the previous renditions, was to bottle it for 40%. So let's see what 46% does. You can see the colour is really taking on the sherry there. Nice to see an integrity bottling, and it's got nice tears as well. And it's very sherry forward on the start. Almost, not quite, almost a sherry bomb even. There's notes of toffee, figs, fruitcake, and a hint of mocha. And you get spice, nutmeg, cinnamon and cardamom, and a touch of walnut. Yet after that sort of sherry punch, it reveals some more spirit-driven character. Fresh and sweet with lemon drops and lemon peel, apples, melons, pears, and a hint of dunnage and ash. And as it opens up, there's some malted barley grist, a faint floral note, and a touch of mint syrup. It's pleasantly fresh with notes of orange and cocoa and very light whiffs of tobacco leaf and maraschino cherry, dark chocolate, black fruits, raisins, cognac, ancient wood, leather, tobacco, black grapes, port wine, brown sugar and spices, dried fruits, and you don't get any alcohol in the nose. Just a light spice, like liqueur, sweet, fragrant, perfumey, fruity, dark, and also white flesh fruits. Cherry, berries, sherry oak, peppery spices, fruit candies, and it's got quite noticeable hints of cocoa, vanilla, coffee, and nuts. Try them out. It's a medium body, and it's immediately oily and sweet. And the main taste initially is intense malt notes. And then you get some milder sherry influences with some spice, milk chocolate and figs, and a fresh lemon note. But that slippery texture also has a sort of sharpness that carries cherry and peachy notes. There's elements of charcoal in the mid palate, tobacco and sugar that linger. And the finish is medium, and it's sweet and sour with caramel, lemon peel, and a touch of mocha, spices, pear, and vanilla. I'll add 5 drops to this. And it all but eliminates any alcohol that was on the nose. It increases the vanilla, but it's like the richness has decreased. Blueberries, blue and red berries, raspberry jam compote. It's dry, but it has these strong fruity notes. It's not molasses. Then there's more nuts, and then citrus like lemons and grapefruit. And there's nice sweet aromas of caramelized fruit, vanilla, and a sort of grape nut chocolate. And that oakiness creates a nice contrast. And then in the background, more fruit then comes to the front. Cherries, berries, and oranges. We'll try them out. And with water, it's like candy with cherry liqueur, kirsch, probably the best way to describe it. Vanilla, dried fruits, black fruits, and raisins. Ancient wood, tobacco, espresso. And water seems to open up the ex-bourbon influence. It's a syrupy sherry sweetness there, toffee, light spice, dark fruits lingering. It's not so thick-bodied now, slightly dry. And with water, the finish is longer, slightly tannic, new wood, old wood, and dark chocolate. So Co-release 12-year-old Royal Brackla and Integrity Malt is a pleasant sipper with elegant notes of cherry, chocolate, tobacco, and I think it would appeal to customers who are looking to expand their whisky knowledge without being presented with anything too challenging. The sherry is noticeable, but there's a good balance between the two influences, if not a completely cohesive one. The bourbon spirit character and sherry one seems to chase each other around rather than coming together completely in cohesion. But it's another Jewish Bacardi dram which shows a lot of elegance and complexity. The mix of sherry cask, bourbon cask, and spirit aromas might not be fully cohesive, but it's a very nice sipping whisky. So we'll cleanse our palate. So we're now going to try a Cadenhead Royal Brackla, 14-year-old, 52.3% Pinot Noir hogshead since August 2019. Pinot Noir is probably my favourite wine. I don't know if you've seen the film Sideways, but there's a tremendous scene in that where they go in for a wine tasting, the two intrepid travellers, and the description of Pinot Noir, this is Californian Pinot Noir, is wonderful. That's what got me interested in Pinot Noir back in the day. So Brackla was historically known for its smoky spirit, although that has changed over time, of course. The founder, Captain William Fraser, was deeply unpopular with the moonshiners in the area when he started his distillery, but it was a great success. And of course, it became the King's Own whisky. Nowadays, it's known for its fresh fruitiness and strong nose. This one is a Royal Brackla of 14 years old, distilled in 2010, bottled in April 2024, so it's 14 years old, ABV 52.3%, and it's been in a Pinot Noir hogshead since August 2019, so 4.5 years in the Pinot Noir hogshead. So Brackla's lack of prominence is due to a lack of ownership that truly believes in its whisky. However, a well-matured Brackla and sherry is delightful rarity, much like a unicorn, and this Pinot Noir cask is something new for Brackla. So a Pinot Noir cask finished whisky introduces a subtle but distinct influence. It showed layers of fruity, floral, and sometimes slightly tannic complexity. They can vary, these flavours, that are depending on the Pinot Noir's origin and characteristics, but generally it would add notes of red fruits like berries, hints of floral aroma, honeysuckle, lilac, roses, and a touch of dryness. So you can definitely see this has a slightly rose, reddish tinge to it. This one's at 52.3% cask strength. And it has fantastic tears. And it's got a sort of sappy, fudgy and boozy rum-like quality. Brown sugar, mahogany and walnut whip, vanilla, raisins, dried fruits and wood char. It's got a touch of a topic bar about it, sadly discontinued. Madagascan cola, red cola, red grapes, cola cubes sticking on the confectionery, white grapes and winey esters. And there's almost a sour or lactic note to the nose. And it's citric, like a dehydrated orange or calcium tablets. Butter yeast rolls and honey glazed biscuits. Ginger, clove and cinnamon baking spices. We'll try them out. And raisins, chocolate and pencil shavings. Cardamom, licorice and there's some nuttiness here. Coffee beans, red grapes and blackcurrant again with sootiness. Blackcurrant juice. It's quite balanced. It's like Ribena, raspberry juice. There's a little sharp astringency with some old wine soaked oak staves. Earthy root vegetables, sweet potato and potato skins. And cinema again on the palate with a tinge of star anise possibly. And there's some metallic flavours with some copper and tin. A whisky ginger in a copper glass. And the finish, well, confection again, like these red laces that you get, long red laces. Cheesecake, freshly picked brambles, some medicinal fruits and minerals, berry flavoured herbal throat lozenge, pleasant tobacco and leather notes, some unpleasant paper and paste wax flavours. It's got a dry and chalky finish, like drinking flat mineral water. I'll try 5 drops of water in this. Actually, I added 7 in the end. And now it's natural vanilla. Sultanas, mixed dried fruits, wood smoke, a touch of iodine, barbecue toffee, salted caramel, jam donut, even a glazed donut, crispy creme, red currants. Try them out. very spicy with vanilla, dried fruits, red cola. Cola cubes, medium body. It's sweet, sour, some red currant, black currant acidity, and a sort of underripe raspberry. It's creamy on the finish. Medium lasting. It's got a nice balance between bitterness, sourness, and creamy notes. I'm not always a big fan of wine cask finishes on whiskey, but this is a pleasant and welcome surprise. It's well integrated and it delivers. There's a harmony and togetherness that is satisfying, and it also lacks the harshness of some sherry finishes. I think the Pinot Noir brings out a touch of class and some dark fruits, so we'll cleanse your palate. So last one for this evening is again a Cadenhead. It's a 16-year-old, distilled in 2008. 53.7% Palo Cortado hogshead since 2020, so for 4 years in the Palo Cortado hogshead. And this was bottled by the Cadenhead Campbeltown shop, selected by the Cadenhead Campbeltown shop. And let's see how we get on with Palo Cortado finish. So a Palo Cortado sherry cask finish would add a sort of complexity and nuanced flavours to whiskey, often bringing in a blend of nutty, fruity and spicy notes and sort of smooth, rounded texture, which is a result of Palo Cortado's unique maturation process, which is a hybrid between Oloroso and Amontillado sherry styles. So let's see how we get on with this one. And it's not as dark as the 12-year-old. And we get clementines on those, wax lemons and stewed fruit, caramel, old ginger and white peppercorns. It's quite dense. Dried fruit, berries, salted caramel, reduced condensed milk. It's got a fresh orange or citrus scent that does make your mouth water a bit. Elegant, floral, and a rose-like floral scent greets you. And then you get other fruits, red berries, grapes, apples. Not strongly so, but they are distinct. Vanilla shows up as well, occasionally amongst the fruits. But it's only after you get used to the fruits you get a pleasant cereal scent coming to mind. I'll try the mouth. You get more orange notes and citrus, wheat, fresh tea leaves, almonds, salted butter, popcorn, and a sort of rich honey. And there's some worn leather. It's jammy in parts with a rusty element to it. Hazelnuts and dark chocolate. Dried fruits, salted caramel, and there is Christmas cake in this, and a touch of cinnamon, nutmeg, cigar tobacco, and brown sugar, wine gums again. And it's got a rich, thick sweetness, which is like eating a peach soup, pickled peaches on honey, and the brightness felt in the scent blooms harmoniously into the taste. You can feel a strong sweetness like honey or plum extract, and that makes you feel quite good. There is more spice on the palate than that wasn't felt on the nose. I'm not sure what type of spice it is. It seems a little burnt and earthy. Towards the end, there's slightly bitter, that luxurious grassy feeling like drinking black tea. And the finish, licorice, stewed apple, cinnamon, pumpernickel bread. Other flavours gradually diminish, but the black tea flavour gradually increases over time. And then the peach preserve flavour from earlier wraps itself around again. It's medium length, but the black tea flavour lingers in the mouth for quite a long time. I'll try 5 drops of water in this. And it's still very sweet, wheaty, biscuity, sweet vanilla honey and cream, and juicy ripe yellow fruits. And when you smell it carefully, you can smell light coloured candy fruits, mainly composed of apricots and fresh citrus, apples and pears. And with water, you get soft and juicy apricots and plums, fresh citrus and fragrant pear, and that's a milky vanilla honey. And then the middle notes, it's like compound spices, mainly cinnamon and nutmeg, and a spicy woody oak with a slightly bitter chocolate. And then at the end, caramel cream and fruit cake. The finish is spicy cinnamon, pepper, and woody oak. And that's accompanied by ripe apricots and sweet preserved apricots, and sweet notes of vanilla honey and buttery caramel. So this is an honest dram and not flashy. From the beginning to end, it's a whisky that gives a soft and cosy impression, like candy floss, without any heavy taste. You might feel that the impact is a bit lacking, but every time that happens, a strong sweetness of fruit appears and makes you feel good. At first, it had a strong floral impression like perfume, but after you've had a few sips, the floral scent seems to have lost some of its strength, and that Palo Cortado finish has brought forward fruit and spice. All of these drams are elegant, quite complex, and very enjoyable. Brackla, or Royal Brackla, a great name that only die-hard whiskey freaks used to know until perhaps relatively recently. Indeed, after Craigellachie, Altmore, and Aberfeldy, Bacardi are now trying to relaunch Brackla. I've always been a little suspicious of the need to finish older, above 12-year-old whiskies. That sends a wrong message to me. Like, after 14 or 16 years of careful maturing, our whiskey needs some seasoning. However, in this case, it's worked well, and I would recommend Brackla as an easy sipper. Thank you for listening tonight.